The night my daughter-in-law thought I was asleep, she made the biggest mistake of her life. I was sitting in the dark at the top of the stairs, holding a glass of water I'd forgotten to drink, when I heard my son's voice coming from the kitchen, low, careful, the way you talk when you don't want the walls to hear you. I almost went back to bed. I wish I had, and I'm glad I didn't. My name is Irving. I'm 64 years old. I spent 31 years working as a commercial electrician in Pittsburgh, the kind of job that pays your mortgage and breaks your knees and doesn't apologize for either. When my wife Carol passed away 3 years ago from ovarian cancer, I was left with a paid-off house in Bethel Park, a pension from the union, Social Security that kicked in early because of a back injury, and a son I thought I knew better than I knew myself. His name is Theo. He's 38. He was 16 when his mother got her first diagnosis, and I think something in him hardened during those years, in a way neither Carol nor I noticed until it was too late to soften it. He married a woman named Serena about 6 years ago. She's polished in the way that makes you feel underdressed just sitting at the same table with her. Not unkind exactly, just precise. She measured everything, her words, her time, her affection, like someone who'd learned early that giving too much got you nothing in return. I told myself I liked her. I tried. Carol had liked her, and that felt like reason enough. After Carol died, I stayed in the house for about 18 months. Theo called every Sunday, and for a while that was enough to feel like connection. Then the calls started getting shorter. Then he started suggesting things. Gently, at first. The house was too big for one person. The stairs were getting harder, weren't they? Didn't I get lonely out there? I wasn't lonely. I had my neighbor Gus, 2 doors down, who'd retired from the fire department and liked to argue about the Steelers over bad coffee. I had my sister Paulette in Cleveland who called on Thursdays. I was fine. But Theo had a different idea of fine. Last spring, he and Serena offered to let me move in with them. They had a finished basement in their house in Mount Lebanon, a nice split level with more space than 2 people needed. The offer felt genuine. It felt like my son wanted his father close. I sold my house in Bethel Park. I put the money in a joint savings account that I set up with Theo at his suggestion because he said it would be easier for transfers if I ever needed anything. I told myself it made sense. He was good with money. He'd always been more organized than me. I moved in on a Saturday in April. Theo grilled burgers in the backyard and we watched an old Pirates game, and it felt like something had been repaired between us, something that had frayed after Carol died. I went to sleep that night feeling more settled than I had in years. I should have paid more attention to Serena's face during that cookout. She smiled every time I looked at her, but she stopped smiling the moment she thought I wasn't looking. The first few months were fine enough. I paid them $800 a month in rent, which Theo said was just to help with utilities. He didn't want to make it transactional. I cooked dinner twice a week because I've always been good at it, and it felt like a way to contribute. I kept my space clean. I didn't leave dishes in the sink. I stayed out of their business. But I started noticing things. When I came upstairs in the evenings, conversations stopped. Not dramatically, just a pause, a slight shift, the way a room changes when someone new walks in. I told myself I was imagining it. Then I noticed that Serena had started making calls in the backyard or in their bedroom with the door closed at odd hours. I noticed that Theo had started handling my mail before I got to it, always setting it on the kitchen counter with a smile and some explanation I didn't ask for. One afternoon in August, I found a brochure on the workbench in the basement. It had been slicked inside an old Popular Mechanics magazine, like someone had tried to hide it and done a careless job of it. The cover said Ridgeline Senior Living, Pittsburgh's premier memory care and assisted living community. I stood there for a long time. I put it back exactly where I found it. I didn't say a word. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in the dark telling myself there was an innocent explanation. Maybe Serena had picked it up somewhere for a client. She worked in insurance. Maybe it was old. Maybe it meant nothing. I got up around 2 in the morning to get some water. That's when I heard them. The kitchen light was on. I could see the glow at the bottom of the basement stairs. I stopped halfway up, and I listened. Serena's voice first, flat and businesslike, the way she talked when she was closing a deal. The timing has to be right. After Christmas, he'll have been here 9 months. That's long enough that nobody's going to question it. Theo said something I couldn't quite catch. Then Serena again. I've already talked to the intake coordinator at Ridgeline. There's a memory care unit, but he doesn't qualify for that. We'd have to go assisted living, which is fine. It's still covered under the plan. What plan? Theo asked. The one I've been building since April. Think about it. The joint account is in both your names. His pension deposits directly. His Social Security goes to the same account. If we have medical power of attorney, we don't have that yet. Not yet. But getting him to sign something isn't hard. We just need him to trust us a little more. Take him to a Steelers game. He loves that. Do it next month. Soften him up. And then we talk to him about updating his paperwork. Make it sound routine. Make it sound like Carol would have wanted it. There was a silence. Then Theo said, "What about the house money?" "It's already in the joint account. Once we have POA, transferring it is straightforward. Ridgeline costs about $5,000 a month for basic assisted living. His pension and SS will almost cover it. We contribute nothing, and we're sitting on whatever's left of the house sale." I was gripping the railing so hard my knuckles hurt. I heard Theo say he's going to ask questions. Serena laughed once, short and quiet. "He's 64, Theo. He shuffles when he walks." "I don't shuffle when I walk. I had knee surgery 2 years ago, and I favor my left side on cold mornings. That's different." I went back downstairs. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time in the dark, and I thought about Carol. I thought about what she would say if she could see this. I thought about how she had always trusted Theo completely, even when she probably shouldn't have. Then I stopped thinking about the past and started thinking about what I was going to do. The next morning, I acted like nothing had happened. I made coffee. I asked Theo how his drive was looking that week. I complimented Serena on the flowers she'd put on the kitchen table. I was pleasant and relaxed, and I watched both of them watching me, and I understood for the first time that they'd been watching me for months. That afternoon, while Theo was at work and Serena was on a call in the backyard, I went through the filing cabinet in the basement. I had my own drawer, the one Deal had pointed to when I first moved in and said, "That's yours, Dad. Keep whatever you need in there." What I found in the drawer above mine stopped me cold. There was a folder labeled Irvinging Next Steps. Inside it, printed emails between Theo and Serena going back to January, 3 months before they'd even invited me to move in. Notes about the joint account, a printed page from the Ridgeline website with a room circled, a handwritten list with items like POA, dental and medical, transfer authorization, and update beneficiary. At the bottom of the list, in Serena's handwriting, "Call Paulette? No. Keep her out." They had thought about my sister. They had decided to keep her away from me. I sat down on the concrete floor of that basement and felt something go very still inside me. I took photographs of everything with my phone. Then I put the folder back exactly as I'd found it. That evening, I called Paulette from my car, parked 2 blocks away. I told her everything. She went quiet for a long time, which is unusual for Paulette. When she spoke again, her voice was controlled in the way it only gets when she's genuinely frightened. "Irving, you need to get out of that account." "I know." "Not tomorrow. Tonight." "I can't do it tonight. I need to be careful. If they find out I know before I'm ready, they'll move faster." She agreed. Then she said, "Call Jimmy." Jimmy is my brother-in-law, Carol's younger brother. He's a retired paralegal from a law firm in downtown Pittsburgh. He's been doing my taxes since 1997, and he knows more about estate law than most people with degrees. He's also the kind of man who, if you tell him that someone tried to steal from his late sister's husband, becomes very quietly and very methodically furious. I called Jimmy the next day. He didn't say much while I talked. When I finished, he said, "Okay, here's what we do." Over the next 6 weeks, with Jimmy's help, I moved carefully. First, I opened a new individual checking account at a different bank, a branch I'd never used on the other side of Pittsburgh. I had my pension payments rerouted to that account. Social Security took a little longer because of federal processing, but Jimmy helped me navigate the paperwork. I didn't touch the joint account yet. I let deposits continue normally so nothing would look different on Theo's end. Second, Jimmy connected me with an elder law attorney named Ms. Patterson. She was a small, direct woman who'd clearly spent 30 years watching families do exactly what Theo and Serena were planning to do. She reviewed the photographs I'd taken of the folder, read through the emails, and told me in plain language what I was dealing with: financial elder abuse, not a small accusation, potentially criminal. She helped me draft a new power of attorney, granting authority to Paulette and Jimmy with specific language excluding Theo. She helped me update my will. She put a freeze on any transfers from the joint account without my in-person signature at the bank. "They'll notice eventually," she told me. "I know," I said. "I want them to notice at the right moment." Third, I got a small digital recorder. Nothing fancy, the kind you can order online for $30. I put it in the breast pocket of my shirt and I waited. The Steelers game happened on a Sunday in October, just like Serena had planned. Theo bought the tickets and drove us downtown to Acrisure Stadium. We had good seats. We ate overpriced hot dogs. The Steelers lost, but just barely, and Theo spent the fourth quarter explaining why the offensive line had been the real problem all season, which was a very Theo thing to do. I let him talk. I laughed at the right moments. On the drive home, with the recorder running in my pocket, he brought it up. "Dad, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Nothing urgent, just paperwork stuff. Serena thinks it would make sense for you to update your POA documents, just to have everything in order, in case anything ever happened." "Like what?" I asked. "I don't know. Medical decisions, financial things. You know how it is. It's just good to have someone you trust in that role." "I have someone I trust," I said. "I've already handled it." He glanced over. "What do you mean?" "I updated everything a few weeks ago. Paulette and Jimmy are listed. Ms. Patterson helped me put it together. It's all filed." The silence in that car was so thick I could feel it. "Oh," he said finally, "I didn't know you were thinking about that." "I think about a lot of things, Theo." He didn't say another word about it for the rest of the drive. That night I heard them in the kitchen again. I didn't need to go to the stairs to know the conversation had changed in tone. Serena's voice was quick and sharp. Theo's was lower than usual. I couldn't catch words, but I didn't need to. I had what I needed. 2 days later, I called Theo into the basement and sat him down at the little table I used for projects. Serena was at work. I set my phone on the table between us, open to the photographs of the folder. "I found this in August," I said. "I've had 6 weeks to think about what to do with it." He looked at the photographs. He didn't touch the phone. His face went through 4 or 5 expressions in about 10 seconds, and then it went very still. Dad. I'm not finished." I slid the phone closer to him. "I spoke to an elder law attorney. I've moved my pension and Social Security to a new account that you have no access to. The joint account has a freeze on it. Nothing moves without me standing at that bank in person. My POA is updated and you're not on it. My will is updated and you're not the primary beneficiary." He started to say something. I kept going. "I also have recordings, conversations from this kitchen. I'm not going to tell you exactly what's on them, but Miss Patterson has copies, and so does Jimmy. He put his face in his hands. For a moment, I felt something close to pity. He was still my son. He was still the kid who used to fall asleep on the couch watching baseball with me, who cried at the hospital when Carol's first round of chemo went badly, who called me on Father's Day every year without fail for 30 years. But I thought about that folder. I thought about Irene, next steps, written in neat letters on a tab. I'm moving out at the end of the month, I said. I've already found an apartment in Bethel Park. 2nd floor, no stairs issue, don't worry about that. He looked up. His eyes were red. Dad, I can explain. I know you think you can, but I've spent 6 weeks listening to explanations in my head that I made up for you, trying to figure out why my son would plan this, and none of them made it okay. So I don't need to hear one now. Serena. I know who planned this, Theo. I also know you went along with it. That's not something I can unknow. I stood up. When you're ready to have a real conversation, without her running the agenda, you know how to reach me. I love you. I've always loved you. But I'm 64 years old. I have a good pension, good health, and about 30 years left if I take care of myself. I'm not going to spend them being managed. He didn't follow me upstairs. I moved out on a Friday. Paulette drove down from Cleveland and helped me pack. We loaded my truck and her car and made 2 trips. Theo was at work. Serena stood in the kitchen doorway when I came up with the last box and watched me go without speaking. At the door, I turned around. The joint account, I said. I'll transfer my half to my new account by Monday. What's in there from your contribution stays. I'm not taking anything that isn't mine. She nodded once. I walked out. My new apartment is on Bower Hill Road, about 10 minutes from the house where I raised Theo. It's smaller than the basement at his place, but it's mine. I have a porch where I can drink coffee in the morning and watch the street. Gus from the old neighborhood comes over on Sunday sometimes, and we argue about the same things we always argued about. Paulette calls on Thursdays. Jimmy checks in more than he used to, which I appreciate. Theo called me in December. It was a short call, stilted, the way conversations go when 2 people know something important has changed and neither one is ready to name it yet. He said he missed me. I said I knew. I told him I wasn't going anywhere, that when he was ready to talk, really talk, without Serena scripting it, I'd be here. He said, okay. I don't know what happens next with him. I've been his father long enough to know that some things take longer to crack open than you want them to. I'm patient. I've been patient my whole life. But I'm done being patient with people who count on that patience as a strategy against me. I may be 64. I may favor my left knee on cold mornings. But I know exactly what I have, what I built, and what I'm worth. Nobody's filing that in a folder with a plan attached. I keep coming back to that folder, the tab, the neat handwriting. IR Vering, next steps, like I was a line item on a project plan. What gets me isn't the greed. Greed I can understand. People want things. People get scared about money and make bad decisions. What gets me is the patience of it. The months of Sunday calls, the cookout, the offer to move in. All of it building towards something I was never supposed to see. That takes a kind of coldness I don't think I'll ever fully understand, and I've stopped trying. What I learned from this, what I'm still learning, is that being a decent person doesn't protect you from anything. I was decent my whole life. I paid my bills. I showed up for my family. I didn't ask for much. And none of that stopped Theo and Serena from drawing up a plan with my name on the cover. Decency is worth having, but it isn't armor. The people who mean to take advantage of you are counting on your decency to make you slow and trusting. They're counting on you to feel guilty for suspecting them. I felt that guilt every day for 6 weeks, this nagging voice asking me whether I was being unfair, whether I was misreading things, whether a good father would assume the worst of his son. That voice almost cost me everything. What saved me wasn't luck. It was the part of me that refused to stop thinking clearly even when thinking clearly hurt. When I found that folder, I could have put it back and gone upstairs and pretended I hadn't seen it. Part of me wanted to, but I sat down on that concrete floor and I made myself look at every page, and then I made a plan. That clarity, the willingness to see what's real even when you'd rather not, that's what got me out. And then there's the part of it that came after the knowing. Finding an attorney, opening a new account, rerouting the pension, moving carefully for 6 weeks without letting on that anything had changed. That part wasn't about being smart. It was about not giving up on myself. It would have been easier to confront Theo the night I heard them in the kitchen, to walk down those stairs and end it right there in anger. But anger would have burned the evidence and given them time to react. I chose patience over pride. I chose the outcome over the moment. That discipline, holding steady when everything in you wants to react, that's a muscle I didn't know I had until I needed it. I think about what I'd tell someone sitting where I was sitting last April, moving boxes into a son's house, thinking it was love that put them there. I'd say, stay grateful, but stay awake. The two aren't opposites. You can appreciate the people around you and still pay attention to what they do when they think you're not watching. You can love your family and still know your own worth well enough to protect it. Trust isn't something you hand over because someone shares your last name. It's something you watch people earn, slowly over time. I'm 64. I have a pension, a porch, and a friend named Gus who loses every argument about the Steelers with real dignity. That's enough. That's more than enough. And nobody gets to decide that but me.